It's been less than 24 hours since news first broke that the Ogre Tribes were about to make a surprise appearance in Warhammer 2, and the day has finally come to show them off in all their greed, guts, and glory. The Ogre Tribes have arrived in the Total War Warhammer trilogy as part of a Mercenary update alongside a Dwarf Rune rework, Thorak Ironbrow, and the Silence and the Fury DLC. I'll have another video up shortly after this one, showing off Thorak and how the new rune system works, so stay tuned for that. It's pretty awesome, but for now, it's time to focus on the Ogres, because they are complex creatures, like onions. They have layers. It's been a long journey for our hungry protagonists from their traditional stomping grounds in the Mountains of Mourn, but then the concept of diaspora is nothing new for these wandering tribes. They've been through it all before, when the Great Maw slammed home into the steppes southwest of Grand Cathay and turned that area into a radioactive wasteland, forcing the Great Migration of their people. As part of Total War Access, this mercenary mechanic will be free to all owners of Game 2, allowing every single faction to recruit from a stable of 5 Ogre units in both campaign and custom battle. And how this works is pretty simple. Anytime you fight a battle or engage in conflict, be it a siege, a sacked or razed settlement, or simply a brutal, bloody ambush, Ogre Mercenaries have a chance to spawn in that area. They're attracted to gold, and they're attracted to meat. So as long as both are in plentiful supply, the big boys will want to stick around. When you move over that encampment with an army, you'll have the opportunity to pick from one of 3 different tribes, offering up either the choice of 2 Mournfang Cavalry, 3 regular ogres and a Maneater weapon, or 2 ogre dual weapons and a Maneater pistol. Once you make that choice between those 3, they'll be in your mercenary recruitment pool forever until you decide it's time to actually field them in your armies. So what I want to do today, besides just showing these Chad Chunguses in exquisite cinematic form, is break down their pricing, their stats, and their overall usability and Doomstack ability in campaign. How good are they? How efficient are they? What are their strengths and weaknesses on the battlefield? What are their unique mechanics? And are they an army worth paying for as you move into the mid and late stages of a playthrough? Do you want to just supplement your armies with them? Or do you want to go balls deep and rock a 20 stack? Let's find out. And take a moment, if you would, to appreciate the sheer crushing mass, the overwhelming ferocity of an army of ogres on the warpath. It's but a morsel, a tantalizing glimpse of what we'll get to experience when it comes time for Warhammer 3. So as you probably already noticed, the 5 units you'll have access to are Mournfang Cavalry, which are a very welcome surprise, run-of-the-mill Ogre Bulls, ogres with dual weapons, Maneaters with great weapons, and Maneaters with pistols. As you can see, the pricing kind of runs the gamut here and was not what I was expecting at all. Regular ogres are not expensive. They're actually a low tier unit, only 550 gold, and only slightly more than 100 upkeep base. Meanwhile, Mournfangs are 1200, dual weapons are 700, and both Maneater variants are 1400. You can take a look at their stats as we move through to get a basic idea of what each unit is capable of. Now, Ogre Charge is their unique battlefield mechanic for their monstrous infantry. Mournfangs don't have it, although they do have that huge mass and 66 charge bonus. But Ogre Charge means that half their charge bonus will go through charge defense, no matter what. So if a unit is bracing and they charge in, half of their charge will still go through. Sounds great on paper, but in my opinion is not a particularly good trait. Neither in campaign nor multiplayer are your opponents typically just going to sit there waiting to get charged. And if they are, you're better off going around and diving into their ranged troops and backline anyway. It's a cool idea. It gets the point across that they're this bruising, beastly behemoth of a force, and you can see that with their high charge bonus across the board. Even for monstrous infantry, they have very high charge bonus. But in practice, I'm a bit skeptical of how much of a practical impact that trait will have. All of them, of course, are characterized by high charge bonus and massive weapon strength, plenty of AP to go around, while the low tier ogres have kind of abysmal stats, low armor, low survivability, and rely heavily on that AP damage. But they are cost effective. You're getting units that hit extremely hard for a cheap price point and upkeep with the regular Ogre Bulls and the dual weapon variant. Everything here pretty much does exactly what you'd expect from their unit archetype. Mournfangs are monstrous cav with a hefty charge bonus and pretty insane damage on impact, but a huge target for gunpowder. They'll die to cannons pretty quick. Dual weapon ogres have an 8 bonus versus infantry and are probably the most cost efficient unit of the bunch. Maneater great weapons have a significantly better stat line than the regular ogres and a massive 26 bonus versus large, making them amazing for killing single entity monsters if they get a full surround off on one. And the Maneater pistols also have great stats, but have somewhat underwhelming damage from range. Just like most other monstrous infantry, ogres need meat shields and support out front to not get beaten up in melee. That low defense, that low armor, and lack of regeneration from gut magic means you don't want to take 1v1 engagements with them, and instead want to blob up and overload a flank using that local superiority to quickly crush units before moving on to the next one. For now though, I want to move over to the campaign side of things, where I'll talk more about their strengths and weaknesses on the battlefield and their effectiveness as a potential Doomstack in lieu of the rest of the Ogre Kingdoms roster we don't have access to yet. Okay, so we're into a Grimgor campaign. The greatest war boss who's ever lived subjugated his very own ogre tribe and forced them to do his dark bidding on the internet. I went full hacker man here to get a campaign into this very situation. Actually had some big help from your boy Okoi, so thanks to him for setting me up with the console mod. He's been a real bro during this early access, and obviously I did not earn 1 million teeth by turn 30. We are cheating. Normally it would take at least 80 to 100 turns to acquire enough Ogre Mercenaries from camps to fill a full stack. So in the interest of saving time, and so we don't go past the turn limit for this embargo, spawned a full army of ogres so we can take a look at what they're all about. And they're right here. Grimgor, with a full stack of ogres, 4 Maneater pistols, 3 regular ogres, 4 dual weapon, 4 Mournfang, and 4 Maneater great weapon. See their stats right there. Now, I do have multiple armies at the moment, which is artificially inflating their upkeep price due to supply lines. You know, everyone's favorite mechanic. And we just recently called a Wa on Kara's Akarak. I deleted Grimgor's Wa army so we can keep the focus on ogres for this particular video, but we've got a dwarf infestation on our hands. Gromradzal just north of us in ambush stance, right about there. I literally saw him try and be sneaky right in front of my stack, but we're gonna stumble into it for the sake of getting an interesting battle. So, he has a lot of longbeards, a lot of silver chevron longbeards, because on the higher difficulties, of course, they get tons of XP super fast. And 1v1, a unit of dual weapon ogre mercs, which have that 8 bonus versus infantry, will actually take horrible losses versus just silver chevron longbeards. They might win, maybe, but it will be Pyrrhic. You also can't upgrade them with anything from the red skill tree, so you have to rely on either magic or just getting basic gold chevrons to help them scale into mid and late game. Thankfully, you don't have to worry about that so much here because we're only on like turn 43, but if you're talking past turn 100, they run into pretty serious scaling issues in comparison to other monsters without the red tree and tech helping them out. I also need to say before we get into this battle that they are horrible at sieges right now. And the issue is that they can't actually climb walls. So I know some people have already expressed some concern about that. I don't know if that's how they're going to work in Game 3. I imagine Creative Assembly will have some ideas on that front, but at the moment, they get shot from the walls. They can't scale them. They're forced to blob up with low armor and a small choke point while crossbows and muskets are firing on them from above, and they can just get murdered with impunity. So they're not great in that aspect. Oh my god. Cannons. Brutal. 3 models dead in a single cannonball there. That was nasty. And I think what we're going to do here is just overload the dwarf right flank. Mournfang should get there first. And I think ogres are a lot better in the open land battle scenarios, because they have the ability to utilize that charge bonus, utilize that speed from the Mournfang, which is actually deceptively quick. There's 75 move speed, which is no joke, especially for Monstrous Cav. It's about as fast as Grail Knights, although it kind of looks like they move slower sometimes. I'm not sure what the deal with that is. But, yeah, if you have room to get that charge bonus off and cycle charge with them, obviously they're going to be much more potent in melee combat, and we're going to use that local superiority doctrine and make sure that 4 or 5 units are beating up on 1 or 2 longbeards. So hopefully the AI won't swing and respond to this particularly well. We're going to have the Maneater pistols move all the way into the rear while all the regular infantry charges in from the front. And Mournfang's moving around behind. I'll try to get into the cannons and the thunders if I can. But Grimgor will also have an important role to play here as well. I can't deal with Gromradzal with anyone but Grimgor, I think. Big charge coming in. Clean one into the grudge throwers in the back. That's what we want. Remember that half my infantry is 700 gold or less and pretty low upkeep, so Not a surprise to see the Ogre dual weapon or the regular Ogres take some damage on the way in and, frankly, get beat up by Thanes and Silver Chevron Longbeards. Again, in some of these 1v1 situations, I think it would straight up lose. So I managed to route the Grudge Throwers. Rest of the Mournfangs can pull out, get some Cycle Charging in. Definitely should with that 66 charge bonus. And the Maneaters are in a nice position here, but Slayers are moving towards them. So I've gotta, yeah, gotta pull them back and maybe kite them a bit. Nice. I'm gonna have a clean charge into those cannons as well. That's a big one, because that has already done a lot of damage to a few of my lower tier Ogre units. Let's Delta Split, shoot into those Slayers, get that 90 missile damage going their way, which a lot of that will be an overkill on Slayers, because one, don't need all that AP to kill them, and two, Maneater pistols just have too much damage. A lot of their damage is wasted against infantry, because it does overkill models. And I think we might want to just charge instead of shoot, because now that my Mournfangs are committed, probably do some friendly fire damage if I leave them in. Yeah, Thunderers are breaking off from the box now. We can commit these infantry that took some damage earlier. Grimgor's in the thick of it. Looking pretty healthy right now. Dual weapon unit routed off. But the Cav at the moment's doing just fine. You can kind of see a little bit squishy. That low armor, the highest armor unit I have right now is 90 armor for the Mournfang. Papua, that's going to be huge, huge bonus to their stats. It's going to make the Ogres hit like Mack trucks. That'll be really fun. And it's Grimgor's big Wah ability too, so... Oh, look at those stats, man. Grimgor had 122 melee attack. Mournfang's up to like 85. Maneater's up to 83. But yeah, this army is squishy, and that's kind of the surprising thing. Even with the gut plates, you've only got 40 armor. You run into units like Slayers, if you run into multiple units of Slayers, you can be in for a pretty nasty time with these Ogre Mercs. Now, with the actual Ogre Kingdom's roster, put down your next on Grommadal there, see if Grimgor can outduel him. Should be able to. Invest in his melee tree. But there's going to be some situations where once the Ogre Kingdoms come out and you have, you know, Iron Guts and more of the heavily armored stuff, maybe Rhinoxes, Stonehorns, all that, won't be such a big issue. But when you've only got 5 of their units from their unit roster, and frankly, they might even be weaker versions of what we'll see in the final Ogre implementation, because they are mercs that anyone has access to. Yeah, these guys they're a bit squishy. Especially when running into 55 melee defense Longbeards with Silver Chevs. But we've got him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Grimgor can pop that potion of healing. That'll get him back up to full. Should be able to beat that thing up, no problem whatsoever. Got the full surround off. The great weapons are in there. The Maneaters have gotten some good kills shooting in from the rear, and we're about to get even more, I think. Yeah, let's line these guys up. Bad boys up, fire into the unshielded side, and I don't think there's a lot of penetration on the Ogre pistols. I think the reason their damage is a little bit underwhelming is that they overkill and their shots don't penetrate. So yeah, you end up wasting a lot of shots against infantry. Against single entities, they're better because it's high damage and you don't have to worry about penetration in that situation at all. Yeah, just charge in with them, actually. That's a mass rout about to be imminent. Grimgor and the Mournfang finished off that Thane. And that is army losses for Gromradal, the White Dwarf, and his horde of Dawi. Ogre boys will feast today for sure. They'll mark one up for the Damaz Kran, but I think we're moving towards Karazakarak very soon here. What were they doing in my swamp, man? What did they think was gonna happen? That ambush was hilarious from Gromradal. He tried so hard to be sneaky, and it just was not. Let's pull everything out. Let's let Grimgor get a duel here and maybe get a charge from the Mournfang. One thing I have noticed, single entities take a lot of damage from Mournfang charges. You'll see a couple multiplayer replays with that happening very soon as well. Satisfying to watch the impact hits from those Mournfang Cavalry. Your next going down. Yeah, let's get a charge in from behind too. Finish him off. Give the killing blow maybe to the Monstrous Cav, which is definitely my favorite unit of the 5 right now. Well, the White Dwarf's having a bad time. Okay, so final thoughts on their Doomstack ability anyway. I think with the way these mercs work currently, I'd say definitely not Doomstack viable. You're only going to get a full stack of ogres at best past turn 60. And at that point, most races can be much more efficient with their unit selection. Which is not to say they're bad. They're certainly not. They just do what the name says on the tin. They provide some reinforcements in a sticky situation when you need some heavy hitters. They should not be making up the bulk of your armies. I mean, let's just be clear about that. You should not be fielding 19 of them. You're losing out on a lot of efficiency doing that instead of going for certain 19 stacks of single entities, that kind of thing. On Legendary, I think they will struggle pretty mightily in a lot of situations because they need meat shields, right? That's the whole point of monstrous infantry. If you don't have ways to buff them into the stratosphere with the red tree and with tech, then they're going to be kind of left unsupported. They're fighting in engagements they don't really want to be fighting in, and with the melee buffs that AI is going to be getting, it's going to be pretty painful for them. So, again, I don't think they're bad, but they are used in a pinch, not as the bulk of your forces, unless, of course, you're just trying to have fun, and it certainly is fun to rock a full ogre stack. I mean, let's be honest here. They look awesome, they play awesome, and it's a nice sneak peek at what we're going to be seeing for the Ogre Kingdoms in Warhammer 3. Now, I have some questions about what this means in terms of the pre-order race. I think we'll make a separate video about that, discussing whether or not they are. The fact that there's 5 units already ready to go makes me wonder if I was correct in my previous assumption that they will in fact be the pre-order race, but I think that is worthy of its own video. For now, I had fun with the ogres, man. I'm excited to see them in Warhammer 2. I hope you guys are as well. And we will be focusing on them a lot in the coming days. Some multiplayer replays with them, with Thoric Ironbrow, with the Bray Shaman, and all that good stuff. So stay tuned. Lots more awesome content coming. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let me know what you think of the implementation of these Ogre Mercenaries so far. Remember, do not use them in sieges. You will be disappointed. Other than that, they're a blast. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.